Good morning, folks. It looks like the bewitching hour has arrived. Thank you all for being here. This is probably the largest crowd I've had yet, so I will try to control my stage fright, but I think we'll be okay. All right, so welcome. Today is our September 12th Dining Forum, our third of the year, and we have some big news today. You've probably already heard, but we'll get to that in just a bit. So, as we usually do, we'll go through the agenda real quick. This is, let me move this down here. Let's try that. If you can't hear me, let me know. I tend to wander around up here. So we'll start with a staff update. I want to talk about new menu creation as an introduction to Travis. Travis Vierthaler is our new executive chef, as you probably know. And he'll come up and introduce himself and give you a little bio and speak for just a bit. And then the usual suspects we look at, we'll look at our latest county inspection. I want to review product quality. We see this slide, I usually leave this in here, but it's just a good reminder of the products that we're using, and we got a couple of updates in there as well. And also let's talk about what we're going to be doing moving forward, and then I'll bore you with some numbers about how many meals we serve. And then we'll have our Q&A period. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so staff update. Becca Worthman, the Friendship Village recruiter, has been doing an amazing job for us. We're in pretty good shape compared to where we have been over the past couple of years. Courtyard Buffet is fully staffed except for 2 part-time servers. The Village Cafe is fully staffed. That is outstanding, and we actually added a position out there. I don't remember the numbers offhand. I'm going to give you some ballpark numbers, but business out there has increased over $1 million over the past 3 years revenue. So the numbers out there are just amazing. So we've had to add staff out there to keep up with it. You know, you go out there at dinner, you see the lines out there, and the place is just full, and sometimes there's not a seat to be had out there. So we added some extra positions, so we had some more people on the registers, some more people running food and bussing tables so that we could make sure we were taking good care of you out there. The kitchen, we are looking for an executive sous chef. We will talk about that a little later. We are looking for a short order cook. A short order cook are the folks who work in the cafe. And we are looking for a PRN dishwasher. A PRN is essentially on call. It's an abbreviation. I never remember what it is, but just think of it as on call. Those positions are very difficult to fill, and it's not something we absolutely need. They're just hard to fill because they don't have a set schedule. And people like to have a schedule, know that they have a permanent job. So the PRN positions don't have schedules, nor do they have benefits. So. In Fireside, we're looking for 1 part-time server. Most of you probably know Eric. Eric is going to be moving to the IT department. Eric studies some type of engineering at ASU, and that's certainly the field that he's interested in. He's done a really, really super job for us in Fireside. I hate to lose him, but I think it's a good move for him. It's something that he's going to be interested in doing for his life work, so a real good move for him. In Nunnecamp, we're looking for a full-time and a part-time server. We had some folks go back to school, as we typically do this time of year. And in the healthcare center, we're just looking for a couple of part-time diet aides to work up on the floors with the residents. All right, I want to go through what we call menu creation, and I'm going to do this before I introduce Travis, because one of Travis's goals is menu creation. And when he and I interviewed and had our discussions, as we continue to do, we talk about you know, what the goals are, what we want to do first, and one of them is certainly updating our menus. And I've talked about this over the past dining forums. The first thing I thought we should be doing is the Fireside menu because it is so old. It has been here since I've been here. And Travis has made some great progress on that, and I'll let him speak to that. But what I want to do is kind of go over the process of creating a menu. I had a resident a couple weeks back say, well, he's been here for a couple of weeks. How come we don't have new menus? And you know, first of all, if you can imagine walking into a place this size and you've been here for a week, you know, your head's spinning, you don't even have your feet on the ground yet. And I wanted to just talk about what it actually takes to create a menu, especially something for a fine dining restaurant. So the first thing you have to do, or the chef has to do, is sit down and think about it and write and decide what he wants on the menu based on resident preferences, based on where we're going with food trends, based on vegetarian items, seafood, things that have been popular, things we want to keep, things we want to change. So obviously that's going to take some time. And most good chefs, as Travis can, and I can myself, can sit at a desk and write a menu because we can cook in our head and we can picture what we're going to buy and how we're going to prep it and what it's going to look like on the plate. So that's that piece. The next one, of course, if you have all this stuff in your head and you have a menu on paper, but somebody needs recipes in order to create this stuff. The cooks have got to have standardized recipes so that every time you order the same thing, it looks and tastes the same. So that process involves going in the kitchen and actually cooking this stuff. So picture yourself at home. And my wife asks me these questions all the time. My wife wants to learn how to cook. And she says, well, how do you do that? That is actually kind of funny because she doesn't really want to cook. But nor does she typically pay attention when I tell her something. So, but anyway, I love my wife, so that's all good. At any rate, she'll say things to me like, well, how long do you cook that? And my answer is always, and she's gotten used to it now, she'll look at me and go, oh, till it's done, right? And that's how I cook. I mean, I don't cook with recipes. I just know when something is done, and it drives her crazy, but that's how I cook. And, you know, so we go out in the kitchen, and the stuff that I myself, and I think Travis is probably similar, I can stand there and I can make something. But I've got to take that, and you've got to write all that down, and you've got to measure everything that you're putting in there that you would normally just kind of toss in there as you're going along. So you have to write all of that stuff down, and then you got to go back and do it again with the stuff you wrote down to make sure that it's what you want it to be. So there's a lot of tweaking and back and forth involved in that. And then you've got to do that for all of the new recipes that you're developing. And the next one is, of course, testing and tasting. So we get together a group of folks, myself included, probably Cole, Travis, the sous chefs, and we all take a look and we taste it and critique it and say what we think and look at the plating and make comments, whether positive or instructional or you know, maybe it'll look a little better this way, until we get the plating and the taste exactly the way we want it. At that point, they go ahead and Travis is going to take pictures. So we've been a little bit challenged in the past with consistency, and Travis has got some great ideas on the way we should do things and the way we should have been doing things. All of our recipes should have pictures so that when a cook looks at the recipe, he knows what the plate should look like. So if we have one cook doing something one day and then we have another person coming in on their day off, everything should look the same when it goes out the door into the dining room. And we struggle a little with that right now, and I'm sure some of you folks have seen it, particularly in our cold areas with some of the desserts. Sometimes they might look one way, and sometimes they might look a little bit different. So the recipe books will be created, and photos will be taken of all of the recipes and put in the recipe books. And once all that's done, you have to go back and we have to train all the cooks on how to do this stuff, all right? Once all of that, and we also talk to the servers, because one thing we want to make sure of is that the servers understand the recipes and can explain them to you, especially when we have new recipes or new menu items that folks haven't seen before. We want to be able to have those servers go out there and tell you exactly what's in those and what to expect. And once those few little tiny steps are done, we can actually roll out the menu. So as you can see, it's a bit of a process. All right, so that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Travis for a few minutes and let him say what's on his mind, and then I'll be back with you. I suppose I should do the placing and actually introduce him. Sorry. This is Travis Vierathaler. He is your new executive chef. He is a certified executive chef, hence the CEC up there on the top. And I'll let him talk about that. Welcome, Travis.
Thank you. Thank you all. Very nice to meet you, and thanks for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm going to keep this as short and sweet as possible, and then I'm going to hang around towards the end for our question and answer period. So if anybody's got anything specific for me, I'll be here, okay? I'm going to give you a quick bio of who I am and what I'm about. I'm actually an Arizona native. I actually come from a long line of Arizona natives. I had family living back here back in the Prescott territorial times during old mining days, and my great-great-grandfather was actually the fire chief of Prescott back in the old mining days, and right? And also, I think an uncle was the sheriff of that territory, believe it or not. Yeah. And so small, you know, we've been here for a while. We're from Pennsylvania Dutch, so we're all from Germany and Austria in that area. Have other law enforcement in my family. My brother, who's current law enforcement. But anyways, so both my parents were teachers, high school teachers. My father was a high school teacher. My mom was a elementary school teacher, so education is also in our family. I have 4 children, 2 grandchildren, which are just the love of my life. And I should put on my glasses because I can't read right now. As Brian said, I'm a certified executive chef with the American Culinary Federation. That would be my educational background. I also sat on the board of advisors for Le Cordon Bleu for curriculum development and student placement here, and currently in the tail end process of finishing up a bachelor's degree in business management, of all things, right? With no hopes of using it for anything other than what I'm doing here today, which is great. So yeah. And we're currently working on updating the fireside menus, and we're hoping to have those launched mid-October. Definitely doing some great R&D currently on that right now, a lot of tastings and taking some photos and just trying to get everything fine-tuned to the way we think you're going to like it. And then after that, I guess we're going to segue into cafe menus and then probably into the buffet menus, right? That's it. That's all I've got. Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Travis, and welcome. I know that I've been waiting a long time for someone like you to be here. It's been a long year with no executive chef, so welcome again. All right, let's move on. All right, so let's talk about the executive sous chef. We have our executive chef, and for those of you who were at the last forum, I discussed this. I talked about the fact that I wanted to wait until the executive chef or Travis was hired and on board before we started the search for the executive sous chef, because it's only right and fair that the executive chef should hire his assistant. An executive sous chef, we're currently recruiting and interviewing. We've talked to, I'm having a hard time reading this here. We've talked to 4 candidates, and most of those have been internal. We had a lot of folks who already work here or are interested in the position. And we have some outside folks that we're looking at as well. We're getting towards the end of the search. I would say we have 2 or 3 more folks we're going to take a look at. So probably a couple of more weeks anyway before we make a decision on that. And as you'll see up there, all of the finalists will be required to take both a cooking and a written test, as well as the interview process. We want to make sure these people can actually do what they say they can do. And I already spoke to that. And a sous chef is really the right-hand man for the executive chef. In this case, it'll probably be more of a hands-on person that's going to be out in the kitchen working shoulder to shoulder with the cooks, teaching, training, mentoring, helping, and really helping them hone their skills and learn better ways to do things in faster ways and better procedures. We have a real good group of people back there, and I think we have a lot of untapped resources in terms of skill sets, because these folks just have not had the opportunity to stand beside someone and just really be trained and mentored and show new techniques and new ways to do things. So I think we're really going to open up almost like a flower blooming, and these people are just going to open up, and we'll really see what we have back there in terms of talent. So looking forward to getting that executive sous chef on board, as I know Travis is, and really starting to rock and roll back there. All right, county inspections. We have these every 90 days. And we had a couple of minor hiccups on the main campus. When they did it this time, they grouped the kitchen, the cafe, and fireside all together. Normally they break them out and do different inspections, but this time everything was grouped under one heading. So 2 things that came up, and one was the dish machine. Our dish machine, just for a little bit of background, is what is called a high temp machine. It is sanitized by hitting all of the dishes at the tail end on the rinse cycle with a super hot water that'll kill any type of bacteria after everything's been washed off. And the minimum temperature for that to take place is 165 degrees. On the day that they came in to inspect, we actually had a final rinse of 156.7 or 157, so we were a little bit shy of what they're looking for. There was a little bit of an issue with the hot water booster. The dish machine, and obviously the hot water from the building runs into there, but think of your hot water tank or your hot water heat. Well, you folks don't have a garage anymore, sorry, I'm thinking of my own house, but the hot water heater in my garage. And when I run a shower, the water's coming out of the hot water heater. We have a similar type of thing under the dish machine. It's called a water booster, and it's able to take the hot water from the building and just drive the temperature up very, very quickly. And it's not like a whole tank like in your garage where you heat it all up. It's actually able to heat the water on contact as it runs through because we go through so much water. So we had maintenance come in and take a look at that, and they were able to just go ahead and boost that up those final few degrees that same day. So we're fine on that. The other one is, and this just is a matter of having those sous chefs out there and just helping to continue to keep an eye on folks. And, you know, the guys have been trained in this, and sometimes they don't, you know, they don't stop and think about the best ways to do things. And we had if you can picture how many beets we might cook to service the buffet, you know, we get these 50-pound bags in, and I think we do a couple of them. It's about 100 pounds of beets, and that's a lot of beets if you ever peeled beets. And thankfully, it's not my job. Although I have done it in the past. At any rate, we have all these beets, and they're all steamed, and we have all different sizes of storage containers, and we have some of these really large things we call Lexons, and they're about this wide and about this this deep and about that high, and so they just put all the stuff in there and put it in the walk-in refrigerator to cool, which is the right process to put it in the walk-in refrigerator. But what you need to do when you're cooling large quantities of things is we need to break them into smaller batches, because what happens is it takes a long time for the center of that product to cool down. And the slower it cools, what happens is it sits in what we call the danger zone. So we want to get between, we have a much more stringent danger code than the county does in Morrison, and that's what we adhere to make sure that we're following safe food practices for you folks. So we look at 140 degrees and then getting down to between 36 and 40. We want to get down there just as quickly as we can. So if we have this super large container of beets, that stuff in the middle is just going to take a little longer than we really want to get down to temperature. So we want to move everything through that danger zone as quickly as we can. So we go from hot holding, or what came out of the cooking temperature, all the way down to that 36 to 40 degrees as rapidly as we can. So a little bit of a learning opportunity for some of the guys back there. And when these things happen, we get everybody together and we do what's called an in-service. We have a sheet, we have the topic on there, and we train people on the proper ways to do things, and then we go ahead and have them sign off on it. And the sign-off is obviously to show that they were there and heard the information. And, you know, if things go sideways down the road and we have somebody who does the same thing again after they've been trained, we kind of pull it out and say, listen, you know, we showed you how to do this. You need to be doing it this way, or you know, we're going to have a problem. So at any rate, Nunning Camp, Healthcare Center, all of the other areas were A's, no problems whatsoever. So actually a pretty decent score. If you look at it in terms of 3 restaurants with 2 issues, which is what it really is, everything was, you know, well above board and would have been A's across the board if it hadn't been scored that way. Finally, on that note, Travis and I will be sitting down. I just got back from vacation this week. Travis and I will be sitting down and putting together a food safety and sanitation plan that outlines what everybody is responsible for on a daily basis. So we make sure that we're hitting every area in that kitchen, that we're checking temperatures of food and we're checking temperatures of equipment. And we just have so much equipment back there and so many different foods and everything's got to be dated and labeled and temped and all of that. It's just it's a big process, and it requires a real organized management system in order to make sure everything's happening properly. So Travis and I will be developing a plan to make sure that that is happening. Excuse me just a second. Now, I'm going to talk about something just briefly, because when I put together this slideshow, I totally missed something that has been a very, very large project that we've been working on for a while. And most of you probably know we are moving away from our current billing system, our current dining dollar system, and we're going away from something called resident choice and moving to something called full count. You may not all know that. It's really not going to have a lot of effect on you, but I kind of want you to know what's going on. Excuse me. We've been working with a vendor for quite a few years, certainly since I've been here and before, called Resident Choice, and we've had a lot of issues with them over the years. They have billing issues, they have software problems, and we call them and ask them to fix them. They don't know how to fix their own problems. They tell me things that aren't true and things I think I'm going to believe them, and I'm just not going to work with people like this. And you know, the worst part of it is I don't want you folks to ever feel like I'm mismanaging your dining dollars and that we're doing something that isn't honest because their software is making mistakes and they can't fix their own problems. And I know a lot of you always come to see me and ask me about certain charges on your bills, and we either verify them or fix them if there is an error. But because of this, and you know, even in the Fireside, we've had some crazy things happen. And in Fireside, you might have received a bill that had 5 pieces of cake when you ordered one. And these are the things that have been happening. And you know, and the residents look at the service like they got 5 heads. It's like, I didn't order 5 pieces of cake. I ordered one. And it's the software, it's the computer that's doing it. And we call these folks and we tell them what's going on. And, oh, okay, that's fixed. And then the next day it happens again. So we've decided to just, you know, get rid of this vendor. We gave them the 30 days notice. They're going to be done. Probably the largest project I have done in a lot of years is putting this thing together, because we've got to migrate all of your folks' dining dollars, all of your Embers accounts, all of your bingo accounts, all of your resident charge accounts, all of that stuff into the full count system. We've also got to do the same thing for all of our employees, because all of the employees have accounts and they have decline accounts that they fund and they use in our employee dining rooms. And then, of course, you've got to think about all the stuff that Mimi charges for, and the guest rooms, and the cots, and the AILs, and their bandages, and their services, and the fitness center, and all the stuff that goes on in the healthcare center. All of this stuff is billed through Resident Choice. Even a large part of your invoice is pulled from Resident Choice by accounting to put it together. So it's a huge project, and we want to make darn sure we get it right. Been working on that for 2 or 3 months now. We are very, very near the end of it, thankfully, because it's been very stressful, and I'm happy we're almost there. We will be launching full count Monday of next week. Resident Choice will go away. All of your rollover days, as far as I know, should remain exactly the same. We're working very, very hard to keep things exactly the same for you, so there's no hiccups, nothing we need to explain, and so we don't have to prorate dining dollars because we move people's rollover days. So we've been very, very stringent with the new vendor that we want to keep everybody's rollover days. There may be a different look to your receipts. We'll have to wait and see what they look like on Monday, but I've also been very careful and made them understand that all of the current information you're getting on those receipts in terms of your dining dollar balances, your bingo, your Embers, resident charge balances, all of those things are still going to be on those receipts, because I know you folks watch those things carefully to see where you are in terms of what you're spending. So I want to make sure that we have all of that information available to you. All right. So at any rate, Sunday of this, or next week, I should say, this coming Sunday, we're going to take out all of the hardware. So all of the POS terminals, all of the credit card readers, all the printers, everything in the entire place is going to go away, and we're going to put in all new hardware. All of that stuff is here. We're going to change it all out Sunday afternoon through Sunday evening. About 5 a.m. on Monday morning, we're going to flip the switch, and we're going to be with full count. So sounds easy, trust me. It has been one of the biggest headaches I've gone through in my career, but I think we've got it done. At any rate, I think things are going to go very smoothly. We have also asked that they have a live trainer or an assistant be with us on Sunday. He's doing the hardware install. Monday and Tuesday, he's going to be here to stand beside the staff and make sure that we don't have any problems, make sure everything runs exactly the way it should. So you'll probably see Andy around on Monday and Tuesday. Real nice guy, here to help us out, and we've done a ton of training with all of our folks, all of the attendants, all the servers, and all of that, but if something looks like it might take a little longer, please bear with them. It's a brand new process for everybody, and as I said, we actually built a training room upstairs. It's been up there for a month. We have all the POS terminals and the printers and everything up there, and everybody's been up there practicing and learning how to program and learning how to do the POS and everything. So I feel confident we're going to have a very, very smooth rollout, but if you see them looking just a touch bewildered, that's probably why. But so just be patient, and I'm sure everything will be fine. Okay, let's move on here. All right, product quality. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. We look at this every time, but I just want to make sure you understand what it is we're buying that you consume. Every piece of chicken that comes onto this campus comes from a small family farm in California called Mary's Farm. It is all organic. It is all free range. It is the best product we can buy. So anything that you're eating except for the chicken tenders in the cafe is going to be Mary's organic chicken. Whether it is the chicken in Fireside, the buffet, or the chicken sandwich in the cafe, it's all coming from the same place. All of your meats are choice, with the exception of the certified Angus beef selections in Fireside. We buy nothing below that ever. All of the seafood comes in fresh, except for shrimp, because you can't buy fresh shrimp. It's always frozen. We get our seafood from a place called Santa Monica, one of the best seafood companies in the valley. Everything comes in fresh. We buy it the day before we're going to use it, and nothing is kept for any longer than it's going to be at its peak freshness. Produce we get almost every single day. You probably see that Willie Ituli truck coming on campus a lot. They are in here all the time. We get produce. We can get it 7 days a week if we want. We get it between 5 and 6 days a week. That produce is never more than a couple of 3 days old. It is super, super fresh. Just recently rolled out the French press program out in the Fireside. We are using Cave Creek coffee roasters. I was pretty excited about that. They're a very small family roaster up in Cave Creek, and just doing a really, really nice job and a very high-end product. So we're doing a couple of things there. We're giving you the same coffee in the French press that's being served at Steak 44 and Capitol Grill and some of the finer restaurants in the valley. We have the same product available for you in Fireside free of charge as part of your meal. And the other thing that I like that we're doing is we're supporting a small local company instead of buying from one of these huge conglomerates. So I always feel good when we're able to do something like that. And the other thing that I just want to remind you about is when you see those recalls on TV about the spinach and all that, please understand that probably 2 days before that we got the recall. We pull things out of our walk-ins, we check the labels on our boxes and our cases, and we take things right out of the walk-in before they ever get out in front of you. So when you see those recalls, absolutely feel free to ask if we've heard about them, but I can pretty much guarantee you every single time that we are going to be days in front of that, and we're going to know some things that the public doesn't know because we get more notifications than they do. Morrison has a very, very robust program when it comes to this stuff. We know right away. We know exactly what countries that we shouldn't be using from or what parts of the state we shouldn't be using from. They give us the product codes. They give us pictures of the labels and everything, so we know exactly what to pull. And the other piece of that, if you're wondering, we do, of course, discard that stuff, but they also provide us with a credit, so we're not just tossing money out the door. All right, what's new? Most of you probably know, but just a reminder, the Alzheimer's Barbecue is on the 28th of this month. That is a Saturday. It's 11 to 2. It's at the Rec Center. Cole is, of course, the pit master, always does an amazing job. If you want some authentic barbecue, the way it is supposed to be done, and for those of you who have been here for a while, you know how that works. Cole is he's really, really good at this. For those of you who are maybe new over the past month or so, we do real barbecue here. And that'll be $20. That is a donation to Alzheimer's. So that is not dining dollars eligible. That would have to be a cash charge or check. The Impossible Burger. I spent a lot of time talking about this because I was pretty excited about it when I saw it at the Chicago Food Show. And now you probably may have seen that Burger King rolled out their Impossible Burger. And I got to tell you, I was a little upset about the whole thing because I was really excited. I came out here and told you we were going to have this Impossible Burger and we were going to be out in front of everybody and we were going to have this thing and it was going to be awesome and it was going to be a non-beef burger and we're still going to have it. But here's what happened. They became so popular so fast that they just actually got overwhelmed. They couldn't keep up with any of the orders and they had to shut the factory down and kind of start over again. You talk about being a victim of your own success. The stuff is really, really amazing. It really is. It looks like beef, tastes, feels like beef, but it is not. And I cannot buy the burgers. They have decided that we're a small fry. Now they've got Burger King in their corner, and they've got some of the other large chains in their corner. So they won't sell me burger patties, but they will sell us bulk ground beef. So I'll be working with Travis over the next several weeks, and we're going to buy bulk ground beef, not ground beef, but the Impossible Burger, which is a vegetable product. And we'll buy a patty machine and make our own patties so that we'll make that available to you folks. So I apologize for not delivering something. I had told you I would, but it was out of my control, as you can see. But we'll absolutely get that out there for you. Got to talk about the Del Fuego restaurant. We are going to be building a restaurant in Del Fuego. The main reason for that is to alleviate some of the pressure on the other venues. We are about as close to being full as we have been in years, and that has caused long lines and waits in some of our venues because everybody wants to have dinner and everybody comes around the same time, and it's just it's a crush. So we've decided to go ahead and build another restaurant, and we're going to do it down there. So it's going to be a pub-type restaurant, if you will, a gastro-pub-type theme. Right now, we are in the development phase of the design. We have two companies that are working hand in hand for this. We have a construction company, Edge, who does a lot of the huge construction projects around here. And then as the design folks, Morrison, the company that I work for, as most of you may know, has a design team that actually designs restaurants, and they design the kitchens, and they figure out where things should go, and where the tables and chairs should go, and where the equipment in the kitchen should go, and what you need to run a restaurant, and all of that stuff. So they're working hand in hand to do that. And I want to kind of give you a visual picture, and you need to sit back and kind of think about this with me for a little bit, all right? So you walk into Del Fuego, and you're standing at the front door, and you're looking towards the back, and in the back wall, you see that the mural of the golf course, right? So that's going to go away. Where that mural is, or very close to it, is going to be a bar. It's going to be a wooden sit-down bar, similar to what is at Embers or in other restaurants, with stools in front of it. There will be a back bar behind that with all the bottles and the glasses and all of that stuff. So that's what you'll see in the back. All of that stuff in the front, that portable stuff, is all going to go away. The flooring is going to come up. We'll put down new flooring. We'll have new tables and chairs so that it looks like a restaurant. When you're facing, and this is, I haven't seen the final designs yet, but this is very close to what we're going to have. We're hoping to have as many stools as we can there. And off to the left-hand side, as you continue to face that back wall, there's going to be a door going into the kitchen. So behind that mural is a guest apartment. So I need you to picture this along with me. Directly behind that wall, there is a living room and there is a kitchen. So when we take that wall out, the bar will be in what is now the living room and the kitchen of that apartment. So behind the living room and the kitchen, there's a bedroom and a bathroom. So we're going to take all those walls out, and that bedroom and the bathroom are going to become the kitchen. All right? Now, this is going to be a bit of a challenge, nothing we can't overcome. We're very, very good at this. But because of the height of the ceiling in there and the design of the building, we can't put a hood in there. When you build kitchens, you have got to have things under hoods because you've got to have an escape for the steam and the heat and the smoke and the grease and all of that stuff. And the other as important, if not more important, feature of a hood is it has what's called an Ansel system. An Ansel system, you can picture it as a kind of a self-contained fire extinguisher. So it has these nozzles that come down out of the hood that is over each piece of equipment. And if a fire were to break out, it's like the fire extinguishers in the ceiling. It would open that up, and it would just completely bury the thing in foam, so it would put the fire out. So that's the other feature of having hoods. And there's also lights up there so you can see what you're doing. But those are the reasons why we have hoods, more for safety than anything else. Now, we can't put a hood in there. The ceiling's way too low. We wouldn't be able to stand under it. But due to technology, most all of the kitchen equipment is now sold in what's called, it has self-contained vents and self-contained Ansel systems. It's pretty cool stuff. It's a little more money than what we would pay for standard equipment, but everything's self-contained. Some of it is really, really cool. If you've seen the fryer out in the cafe, and you've seen them in McDonald's and stuff, they'll put the fries in there and they'll drop them down, and then they pick them up and shake them out and dump them out, right? So in order to do this without a hood, the entire thing is contained in like a square box of stainless steel. There's a chute in the front, and I've seen all of this stuff. I went to the Chicago Food Show and inspected it all out, and it's really cool. And what you do is you pour the portion or a few portions of French fries. It goes down the chute, and it goes into the basket. And everything's computerized, so you have your French fries, your chicken fingers, or for your fried fish, whatever you're doing, you push the button. It goes down into the oil, cooks for the amount of time that's programmed, and then it actually pulls it up, and it actually shakes it a couple of times. And then it tips the basket over, and it comes out on this chute on the side of the machine and ends up in a pan with a heat lamp over it. So it's pretty cool stuff. And they have the flat griddles. We have what we call combi ovens, regular convection ovens. All of these things are all self-contained like that. They're really pretty amazing. So underneath, they have the Ansel system. They have a self-contained hood that we have to change, obviously, the filters and stuff, but all of it pulls it into this hood and recirculates the air and sends it back out. So we're able to build an entire kitchen without a vent by using this type of equipment. So that's what we're going to be doing down there. We are hoping also to do a couple of other things. If you can picture the patio, if you're out on the new patio, there's a big flower box up against the building. It comes out, it's pretty large. It's about this big. We're going to demo that out. We're going to put in, and you'll see this, I got to keep having you picture things, and I think you can if you work with me here. A lot of the new restaurants, they put them, instead of having a wall on the sidewalk, they have these garage doors that come up, right? So the whole front of the restaurant opens up when they open the garage door, and then they put the tables out on the sidewalk. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So we're going to do something very similar down there. So we're going to put a garage door type of deal down there, and then we're going to have a bar that comes around the side, so there'll be some seats on there. And then it'll be open to the bar, so there'll be some additional seating, and the whole thing will open up to the outside. So that's kind of the visual plan down there. I think you can probably all picture it a little bit better now that I've described it. We are working on the menu. We're just in the super, super initial phases. We're just thinking about it and kind of tossing ideas around about what we're going to put on there. We're thinking we're going to have some of those toasted sub sandwiches like you get in some of the sub shops. We'll have some really high-end burgers down there. Right now, we're thinking about a ground beef mixture of short rib and brisket. And if you can imagine the flavor that might be involved in that and making a beef patty out of that for a burger. But again, we're really in the very initial phases of this. We will, of course, have chicken wings because those always go in a pub. And there'll be sandwiches and salads and things like that. I can't talk specifically because we are just, you know, in the very, very beginning phases of thinking about a menu. We anticipate this thing to probably, I'm going to say around sometime in March it's going to be open. Cole wanted to do January. I don't think we're going to make it. We're already almost up to October and we haven't got drawings on the table yet. We are meeting week after next to look at the initial drawings. So something coming down the pike that I think is going to be pretty exciting. So we'll have another restaurant on board. One thing I do want to mention, if you frequent Del Fuego, you know Peter down there. He's a pretty amazing guy. He super, super friendly. He is like top-notch customer service. I just want to let you know that I've already assured Peter he's going to be a huge part of this thing, that he's going to be the bartender down there. So please know that. We absolutely want to take care of our people, and I know some of the people that help you out are just amazing. They really do an excellent job, and we certainly want to hang on to them. All right, so along with the menu down there, since it's going to be a gastropub type affair, we are going to have as many beer taps as we can. So you can picture a line of keg beers. So we have craft beers and local beers or whatever beers we might have down there, as well as all the usual beers, wines, and liquors and cocktails that you might expect down there. All right. So that's the vision for a Del Fuego restaurant, and it is past a vision now. It's actually going to happen, and we are working on it. All right, so you know what I know, which isn't always a lot. All right, what's new? New menu creation. Travis spoke about this. Travis has already written the Fireside menu. Now we're in the R&D part. The Village Cafe Courtyard Buffet will be revised. I'm not exactly sure of the order yet, so don't quote us on that one. And then for the healthcare center, I've been tasked to try to turn that into something similar to the Village Cafe. We're not going to be quite as large, and I'm sure we're not going to have the business that we do here, but that's something I'll be working on in the spring of 2020, trying to figure that piece out, because we have very limited real estate over there in terms of what we can do for a kitchen, so we're going to have to work out of the back kitchen and bring things out. But we'll get it figured out, and we'll expand things over there and have a bigger and better menu. All right, numbers, and I'm just going to go through this super fast. It's been a fairly, well, we're still at 10:40, we're still doing well on time. So this is always a 90-day meeting. I do it every 90 days, and the time period on this one, as you'll see, is June through August of this year. Village Cafe, for that 90-day period, we served 79,000 meals. That's an average of 876 meals a day. That is a lot of meals. Village Center and Garden Cafe, these are employee-only meals. Now, if you folks don't know, part of what you pay for when you are here is subsidizing employee meals so that they can have a really nice meal and they don't have to pay a lot of money for it. It's a benefit that Friendship Village provides the employees, which I think is awesome, and I know they appreciate it each and every day, and you can tell by the participation that they do. Our employee meals for that 90-day period was 22,000. So that's an average of just under 250 meals a day for employees only. Fireside, 67, 68, or an average of 75. And, that's not a true number as I stand here and think about it, because I divided that by 7 days in a week. We're only open 6 days a week, so it's probably closer to 85 or so. Catering, we were in our slow period. Summer is always the slowest time for catering. We did 2,153 meals, or an average of 24 a day. Courtyard buffet, just about 17,000, or 186 a day. Guest meals, 2832, or an average of 31 a day. None in camp, about 9,600, or an average of about 107 per day. Healthcare center, 28,000. Again, a pretty big number over there. And, that number is even more, I guess, bigger than one might think when you think of it in terms of pureed diets and mechanical soft diets and ground diets and all the different things that we have to do over there to make sure we're taking care of our skilled nursing residents. And that's an average of 319 a day, which is about what the census is over there if we're fully booked. Memory care, 6480. We have 24 beds in memory care. It's typically always full, so 24 times 3 gives you 72 a day. Hospice, or our hospice unit has 12 beds, so 12 times 3. I don't know how I got to 42. I guess we're not quite always full over there, but that is a real number. So 3822 meals over there in 90 days. So a total of 90 days, and this is our slow season. We're not totally flat out like we are through the winter seasons, but we're darn close to it. About 177,000 meals overall. All right, so the folks have been very, very busy. And so just under 2,000 meals a day. So if we get one wrong every couple of days or so, I hope you do have a little bit of patience with us. We do make a couple of meals. All right, this is your opportunity to ask me and or Travis whatever you would like. So I'm just going to take a sip of water, and I think Paul's in the back, or somebody is. We have a volunteer with some microphones. So if you want to go ahead and raise your hand, somebody will bring you a microphone, and I'll go ahead and be rude and kind of point at you, and you can go ahead and ask me what your question is. Okay, go ahead. You're first. Is that microphone on? Yeah, I don't think the microphone is on. No, is Paul here? No? Test. There you go. Thank you.
I want to know what happened to the shrimp etouffee. I lived in New Orleans and ate crawfish etouffee, and I was certainly looking forward to it on Monday. Shrimp did show up in the menu on Tuesday, so was it just a physical impossibility?
Okay, I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. So you're saying there was crawfish etouffee on the menu?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Shrimp etouffee
Shrimp etouffee. Okay.
on Monday, I believe it was, or possibly Tuesday, early in the week.
I unfortunately can't speak to that specifically. I'd have to go back and take a look at it. I'm not that close to everything that happens every day in terms of meals. Would you have any information on that?
Are you
Yeah,
looking,
I'd have to go back and look at it and get an answer to you later.
are you looking into a change of boxes so that we get away from using plastic?
All right, first of all of our boxes, they are plastic, but all of them are recyclable. I made sure of that. If you notice, if you've taken any Fireside food to go, we have a new container out there that is not only recyclable, but it's also compostable. So it breaks down in the earth. It doesn't have to be recyclable. I am trying to move us to as much compostable as I can. The product is slow in coming out, and it took me a long time to get the product for Fireside. But, for right now, everything that we're using is recyclable. It's the best we can do at the moment. Even the straws, if you take a look at them, we no longer have the bendy straws because I can't make them in a recyclable product, but they're actually made out of corn. So those are compostable as well as recyclable. So at the moment, we do have the Fireside compostable containers, and everything else is recyclable. But yeah, as the stuff comes outdoors, I have a guy who's bringing things to me as they're developed, and we're taking a look at them, and we'll continue to put things out. Yes, who's next?
Brian, what
Yes.
are the hours of operation for Del Fuego?
You know, I can't tell you specifically. I am going to say probably 11 to 7, something along those lines. It'll be a lunch and dinner house. And I'm thinking, I'm going to guess 7 days a week. We might close one day. We haven't gotten quite that far, but it'll definitely be lunch and dinner.
Any chance of extending the evening hours?
You know, that probably makes sense based on the fact that everything else is closed. So yeah, that's a very good suggestion, and I will put that in the plan and then see what we can do with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for the idea.
Thank you. My question to you has really been answered, and that is, I would like to have later hours. People who are alone go home to their apartments or cottages at 7 o'clock or whenever dinner is over. But the lobby is such a wonderful place now. It seems as if we could encourage people to meet in the lobby after hours, maybe until 8, 8:30, and maybe Del Fuego will answer that when you open that up.
Okay, that's a possibility. I will tell you that, you know, most people have left, and I don't know if it's 100% because we're closing then, but I think we have a pretty early crowd. We leave our lounges open until everybody leaves, and we tried leaving them open till 9 and 8:30, and we would put games up, and we'd stay open for the games, but everybody would leave, and they would, you know, after 7:30, there was nobody there. I am always open to ideas or anything that's going to work, but I think just, you know, for informational purposes, right now we're kind of doing what you know, the residents' lifestyle is, and that may very well change as we move forward and we get some new generations in here. And again, we are always open to trying anything new that makes sense. Did I say something insulting? All right. All right, who's next?
Could we have every once in a while real pizza? I mean, this flatbread stuff is okay, but people are starting to call it Pie-No, which stands for pizza in name only.
Okay. I think he's talking about the buffet pizza. Yeah. All right. We will take a look at that for sure. You know, I will tell you, we had more requests for that than the other, which is why we put it out there. But if things are starting to swing the other way and folks are getting tired of that, then we can look at something different for sure. Yes. I don't know who has the microphone.
Do we,
We lost one? Okay.
do we have a designated dietitian, or is that a function of somebody who's already on staff?
We have a consulting dietitian who works in the healthcare center mainly. I have we have a certified dietary manager also works full-time in the healthcare center. I will tell you that Jenna McCormick, who works with John over in the healthcare center, is on my clinical team, if you will, over there. And she is about to take her test for her RD. She's done all of her schooling. And she made a deal with me, if we helped pay for her testing and all of that, that she would make herself available to independent residents for consulting. So to answer your question, we are very, very close to having someone full-time who will still remain officed at the healthcare center, but will be open to doing consults for independent folks. All right?
I have a question. It concerns lines in the cafe. We went through a period of time when new equipment was being installed, new software, I believe, and we were down to one station for checkout for several months. Sunday night, again, after hit and misses several times since that installation, there was only one station operational, and so we had long lines all evening at the only food option for the village. and you mentioned feeding some 800 people a day just in the cafe. What options are we working on in terms of the new program, if this is going to be also a software change, to avoid that when we have a village here where most of the people are over 70 years of age, in line with on their scooters and on their walkers, standing and waiting for food?
All right, well, to answer your question, it is pretty much exactly what I mentioned previously. The reason that we are getting rid of resident choice is for those very reasons. And we're struggling again. Right now, one of the registers in the cafe is not working properly, it's taking forever to load. And, you know, I know it's frustrating, and I get that. And that's one of the reasons that we're making this change. You know, my hope and my prayer, and I will tell you that we researched this company thoroughly before we invited them in here. They are at a lot of other communities. We went to the communities, we talked to them, we looked at how the stuff was working, asked them if they were happy with it, how things were working, and everybody's been very happy with it. And that is one of the main reasons why we're making this change, so that things are going to work properly and we no longer have these glitches and these problems. All right?
I love the Fireside. I eat there 3 to 4 times a week, and I always took a bowl of soup home because I go to bed at 2 to 3 in the morning, and it's nice to have a cup of soup before you go to bed. They finally learned how I like my steak, which is almost raw. And so I give you a hooray for that. But lately, about 3 to 4 weeks, the soups, which used to be wonderful, are terrible. They're watered down, they have no seasoning, and they're not very good, and I wondered what happened to them.
Are you talking about the Fireside soup specifically?
Yes, I am.
All right, I have to tell you, it's the first I've heard of this. We typically get a very high number of compliments on the soup in the Fireside. I know Mary Ann makes that fresh every day.
I used to compliment it too, but not lately.
Okay, then we're going to have to take a look at it. Travis and I will take a look at it. It's the first I've heard of it, but thank you for letting me know, and we'll definitely take a look at it. Is there something specific that you can tell me which soup it might be, just so we have an idea of what to look at? All of them. Okay, all right, fair enough.
Have you given any thought to,
We're going to need a microphone down here at some point, if you would. She's been waving. Oh, you have one. Okay, I'm sorry.
waiting
Okay.
my turn.
After you.
have
Thank
you
you.
given any thought to putting the calorie count and the sodium content on the foods for the cafe? For example, on the menus?
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to be doing very soon. We are a little bit behind the 8 ball on that, and that will be happening. That's definitely a short-term goal.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Did you want to, why don't you
Is
jump
it my
up? There
turn?
you go.
Okay. I think I'm very much in the minority here. I'm a vegetarian, and since I've been here 3.5 weeks. I've lost a bit of weight, which is not bad, but I don't really need to lose more weight. And my problem is this. One night I have salad at the buffet. The next night I have soup. Then I have salad, then I have soup. That's all I've eaten since I've been here. The reason being that I know you can't cater to me, and I don't expect that. But I'm used to eating plain vegetables. I usually cook them in olive oil. All the vegetables have cream sauce. Half the soups have cream sauce. I don't eat dairy. So I'm having an awfully hard time eating, and 2 of the 3 Sundays I've been here, the only thing open was the cafe. The soup had meat. All the meals had meat. And so I had a scoop of ice cream for dinner. So I'm not doing really well on my ability to eat here, and I would like to request a little more emphasis on a vegetarian meal and maybe some vegetables that are just plain. I'm just a really simple person. I'm happy to put a little olive oil myself and salt and pepper, but please not all the creams in the soups, in the vegetables. And even last night, I could have eaten because there was said spaghetti and meatballs on the menu. Well, meatballs, I don't eat meatballs. When I got there, after my nightly, every other night salad, I discovered that the spaghetti and the meatballs were separate. So I want to acknowledge that. Had I known that, had it been listed, spaghetti, meatballs, I would have known that I could have eaten a real meal. I haven't had one in 3.5 weeks. So I really appreciate how hard you work, and I thank you, but I could, maybe for the new restaurant, maybe we could have a little input. I just made a list of things I eat when I go to a pub. And so I really can work my way around a menu, but this one's hard for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to let Travis speak to that because I know he's doing some work in that. And I would ask you to kind of keep an eye on the buffet because most of our vegetables are steamed without anything in them. We do on occasion have a cream spinach or something with cinnamon and stuff, but there are a lot of plain steamed vegetables in there. And but at any rate, I'm going to let Travis go ahead and handle this one.
That's a great statement, and this is very much in my wheelhouse. Believe it or not, you wouldn't know by looking at me. but I was actually raised a vegetarian, and so obviously as a chef, I cannot be vegetarian full time, but it's definitely in my wheelhouse, and I commiserate with you for sure. So just let me say that you can always order your vegetables without the sauce on it, and if we can, we will. Okay, no is a 4-letter word around here. We want to accommodate anything you need. All of our vegetables, all of our meats are always sauteed with extra virgin olive oil. Everything. Okay. In the fireside menu, currently that menu rotation that we're in the midst of writing right now, we're going to have a plant-based option every day. And so new, exciting, fun things too, okay? If you don't eat cheese, cream, butter, anything like that, you can always ask for it on the side. And again, if we can, we will. Sometimes it's part of it and it's in the recipe, but sometimes we can just omit that and that's fine. Okay. And then, as Brian mentioned, the Beyond Burger, things like that, we're looking at some new and fun and exciting things like that. That's definitely going to be part of our focus here, is bringing some more healthy and plant-based recipes to all of you. So, all right. Did that answer that? I'm equally excited, so yeah, thanks, yeah.
If I understood you, you said that on Monday we'll be stopping our system that we've had about keeping a careful account of what we're buying. If I go into the buffet and I give her my key, in the past, they've always marked it down, of course, but what will happen after this? I usually take a look at the receipt and try to figure out what I'm doing with my next meals.
Yeah, no, nothing is going to change. That's the message I was trying to impart. Your key tags will still work. Your dining dollars will still be the same amount of dining dollars. Your rollover day will be the same. We're trying to keep everything just as absolutely easy as for you folks as we can. That's been part of the goal. So you should not see any change at all. The font or the look of the printing on the receipt might be a little different, or the size of the paper might be a little different. But for the most part, you should have all the same information, and everything should work the same way it's been working. Okay? And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're always here to help out.
I'd like to second the vegetarian's request and note that for those of us with severe heart disease, it's even worse. She could get ice cream and have that night. We can't have ice cream. Nothing with cream, fat milk. If cholesterol is a problem, you look at your menus, and about the only thing you can have is a plain vegetable or a plain salad. It is a severe problem, and there are so many options. Could you please do something to provide for heart patients? Thank you.
Brian, you may have mentioned something about this before and I missed it, but are you involving residents in any way with your tasting and testing of the recipes?
Well, let me just say this, we haven't got there yet. We haven't got anything to taste or test yet, but I think it makes sense to involve residents. I just need to figure out how we're going to do that so we don't have 300 people with 300 ideas, because then it would be very difficult to get a menu done. But I absolutely agree with your idea, and I think we should definitely do that. Let me just figure out how to make it work. All right, thank you, Rosemary.
I have a little problem with eating in that everything is cold. If you bring something to your plate, to your table from the buffet, it's cold. Well, we always had our little microwave, and I'd throw it in the microwave, but then guess what? Microwave is broken, so now I can't heat it anymore. And why is it always cold? I gather that up where our food is kept before we pick it up, isn't there a plate underneath that that is heated that could be kept warm instead of cold? Does anyone else have the problem with cold food?
Okay. Just to answer your question, we do have plate warmers out there. The plates should be warm when they come out. And we also, just for informational purposes, we temp the food 3 times during every meal service to make sure it's hot. I know, and I heard a couple of people mention that the dining rooms can be pretty cool sometimes, and we always struggle with whether it should be cool or hot, and that can tend to cool the food down a little bit. But if you have something specific on it, please let me know, and we'll certainly take a look at it. I am not disregarding your comment by any means or fashion. And, you know, I certainly heard what you said, and we'll do our best to make sure everything's at the proper temperature. Yes, who's next? Who has a microphone?
Okay, I have it. I would like to say that I appreciate the food and stuff is available to buy extra, but there are no prices on it. You just don't know what you are, how much you are going to pay. So can they put the prices on them?
Yeah, let me speak to that. We are a little bit frustrated as well. If the whole process of the lobby remodel is starting to look really, really good, but it's taken a long time. And part of the frustration we're having is they delivered the stuff for the C-store, but they shorted us a bunch of shelves, so we don't have the shelves we need. And the other thing that they didn't bring in with the delivery is the labels for the prices. As soon as they get here, we will have them up. I totally understand. I agree with you. They should be there. I've had a number of folks tell me that, and I totally agree. I just don't have anything to put them on until they deliver them to me. When we get them up there, we'll have the prices and the barcodes and everything to look real good. We'll get them up right away, okay? Yes. Does someone have a microphone, or I can repeat your question if you want to? Go ahead, Elsie, and then I'll get to you up here, please.
I just want to say kudos to you guys, because I don't know how you do what you do, and please, all of these people, it's just amazing.
Put it in front of your mouth.
What?
Put it in front of your mouth.
What, you want me to cover my mouth?
No, put that.
What am I supposed to?
Here, say your comment.
What was my comment?
Say your comment again.
What did I say? All I want to say is kudos, because you
Thank
guys
you,
do a
Elsie.
hell of a job.
Thank you, Elsie. I appreciate that. And thank you for the levity. We needed a little bit there. All right. Go ahead. I'll repeat your question. You know, it is a combination of vegetables. I'm not sure 100% what's in there, but they spent a lot of time developing it. And I know one thing they did do is they took the color out of the beets, and they used that color to mimic the color of beef. So when you cook it, if you cook it, you can actually cook this thing medium, and it has that color of the meat in there, and it's a product of a beet. So I know everything is 100% natural. It's just an awesome product, and I know they spent a lot of time developing it, and I was so impressed with it. That's why I wanted to bring it here, and there's not a lot of things that impressed me to that level, but I can't speak 100% to what's in there. When we bring it out, we can certainly let people know what's in there, but I think you're going to like it. Okay.
Brian, I'm here on behalf of my
Okay.
mom, who's in a cottage.
I'm not sure who's. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Me.
Thank you. All right.
I'm here on behalf of my family. My mom's in one of the cottages, and like this lady over here said about the sodium and the calories, I think I communicated with you about carbs for diabetics, because the no sugar added for a diabetic means absolutely nothing when they go eat a whole bunch of other foods that are high carbs and they don't really know it. I mean, she's had the nutrition class, but she's 99 years old. So that's one thing. And I wondered about the Sunday night with the takedown of the existing machines. Is it not going to be possible to eat on Sunday night? Should they make other plans for dinner or for breakfast Monday morning?
Okay, I'm going to speak to that question first, then I'm going to go back to the other one. No, everything is going to be the same as normal. If we were going to have a problem, we weren't going to have food available, we would let you know well before now. We always try to be way out in front of anything that we're going to be doing, and we would certainly not do anything that would disrupt meal service. All of the venues will be open for the regular hours. All the meal service will be exactly the same. There won't be any difference there. And I just want to speak again. We're getting a lot of comments about carbs and fats and vegetarian and all that. And I totally agree with everybody. I hear what you're saying, and we're going to be working hard to do our best to accommodate everybody's needs. But the one thing that I do want to say, and just kind of hope that people might be able to appreciate, is we've got just under 900 people that we're cooking for. And it becomes very challenging to meet individual goals when we're doing something like that. So Travis will work very, very hard to address kind of things mainstream as much as he possibly can. But the best that we can do a lot of the times is just do what's best for the largest or the majority of the folks. So again, I'm hearing everything you're saying. We'll absolutely do our best to incorporate things that's going to take care of everybody into our menus. But again, it does become very, very challenging to meet specific needs of individual residents. All right? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Brian, I'm wondering why we can't have a baked potato once in a while on our menu. We have fries and all that. I would love a good baked potato.
All right, you talking about the buffet or a cafe or?
Any place, mostly
Okay.
the cafe.
All right, we can, well, let me talk to Travis, all right? I don't want to sit here and say what we can do and what we can't do off the top of my head. We can certainly do baked potatoes. That's not a huge deal. We can make more baked potatoes. We do have baked potatoes all the time in Fireside. Of course, a little more money to go in there, but we'll put more baked potatoes out. I know we have them, I don't know how often. We do have them in the buffet. I think probably a couple of times every 5 weeks. I know it's not a lot, but yeah, we can get more out there for sure. Yeah.
This is not a food question, but what about the Embers? Will that stay open once you've completed the other bar?
Oh, there'll be no change. Yeah, Embers will continue to operate, same hours, same menu, same everything.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else? Yep, we got a bunch of hands. All right.
No, I got more over here.
I know. All right, we're going to go for just a few more minutes, and then we're going to wrap up. But I'm happy to take a few more questions, or you can grab me at the end.
I
Who's
just very
next?
quickly want to welcome the new chef to Friendship Village. And I have appreciated what touches of yours that I have sensed on the Fireside menu so far. And even have sent compliments for the additional flavor in a couple of the usual menu items that we've had. And as far as veggies are concerned, I was wowed about the ratatouille last week in Fireside. And also the zucchini with dried tomato, fantastic. And maybe if you're going to use garlic anywhere, and you can't have eggplant parmesan, any kind of parmesan without garlic, my God, put an asterisk on the menu so that people who are non-garlic eaters are aware. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for saying so, yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay, one last question. We got to wrap up, folks. We're running over. I don't know who's coming in behind us, but I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Any
Mine
more
is
trouble
not a
than I usually get
question.
in.
I have no question. I have a
Okay.
comment. If people find something they don't like, they should complain immediately. That's why we have comment cards. And that's why when you go to resident apps and you have a place you can communicate right away. And that's what I do, and it's not very productive to complain about something that might have happened 3 weeks ago. There's no way to check it.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point. Thank you, Julieta. Okay, folks, we're going to have to wrap up, okay? If you want to catch me, you can catch me later on. I'll answer questions, but thank you all for being here today.